This is a project for a lawyer out in San Diego, California, where we build a ton of cellars. This gentleman, had more of a traditional home and wanted to keep it traditional. He wanted to bring in not only the wine racks, but he also wanted to bring in type of humidor and humidification system into the space. So this is what's called the plan view for the space. On the upper right-hand side, you can see the kind of total bottles that this will hold. We have 750s. So 750s are just cork forward, hold standard bottles. And then we also have a lattice X cube, and then lattice horizontal display in champagnes. It's going into a staircase, although it's very popular because it's out of the way of anything else. It's unused space. But when you open up a stairway, man, there are so many things that happen. And there's different ways that it was framed. There's ways that we have to reframe the under the stairs to hold the stairs up practically, right? Because you're putting a unit in there, you got to make sure it's stable for the stairs first. It's got to be functional for the stairs and then functional for the wine room itself. So different things you find is that maybe you can expand a little bit more. Maybe you have a little bit less. Sometimes we find a pole right in the middle that we have to keep there that we utilize inside the design of the wine room. So under the staircase, you don't know what you're working with until you demo down the walls and you figure out how to structurally get that cellar so you can build the design that you're looking for. What I love is, that picture itself. You can do so many different things under the staircase. People always think that they're limited because it's just under the stairs, but it's not just under the stairs. This is 500 bottles of wine in here. You don't see the cases on the other side or the unit itself, but what you do see is the aesthetics of every part of the racking system that we did, to the touches of putting his cigars in a certain place, to the reveal rows, to the horizontal displays. Where we put the lights, as you could see, they're very hidden and aesthetically pleasing. That's the goal. It's to be able to create that piece of art. And as you look at this picture here, it's exactly that. It's so gorgeous that, if you think outside the box and not just make it into just under the stairs and really create something amazing, this is what you get from it. You have some type of concept drawing and some idea of what's going to be there. But for example, in this situation, we were going to put a cooling unit down closer to where you can see it, but because we were able to open up elevation B more than we expected, we were able to get, instead of a through the wall unit or self-contained unit, we were able to get a split system unit. You want to be able to get a split system unit if you possibly can, and not be able to suffer through having a self-contained unit that's a little bit louder and a little bit noisier and a little bit distracted. With under the staircase, there's always surprises and things that you have to think about while building that under the staircase. And cooling is the most important because you have a staircase. Sometimes you can't put it over the door and you can't put it on the ground. You have to put it, somewhere that makes the most sense. And because under the staircase is so small, you don't have a lot of space to put a cooling unit. So to find extra space and to be able to duct it in or do a split system and hide the unit in a small space like that is very key to building the best wine room, getting the most bottle capacity, and getting the most aesthetic pleasing look. We didn't think that we were going to be able to have a split system unit. So when you build these concepts and you're telling them that you possibly are going to have 300 bottles or 350 and you end up having 410, well, that's a big difference. And hey, now you don't have to get an inferior self-contained unit. Now you can actually get a split system unit. All these come into play once you go into the construction phase. I would say 95% of the clients are thrilled to know they can have more bottle space, thrilled they can have a better cooling unit, and know that they can hide that unit into the space to where they don't, it's not shown within the door area or the peekaboo window, because nobody wants to see that cooling unit in the space. So besides it having more aesthetically pleasing because we can hide it through grills and inside the rack somehow, it's also about longevity, where a split system unit can last 10 to 12 to 15 years, depending on the services that you provide. If you go and provide a service to your unit every 6 months to a year, self-contained units, once the 134A or that freon, the gas that's in there goes out, it's out. You can't just replenish it. So that is depending on the insulation of the room, all the different variables on the outside of the space can last anywhere from 3 to 7 years as a self-contained unit. What I would need is to understand, where they're going to have it, how many bottles they'd like to store, and do they want something that's traditional? Do they want something that's modern? Or do they want something a combination of both? And right now, the combination of both metal and wood is really popular. It's that you're keeping the wood aspect to keep it warm and yet having a little bit of metal in there to keep it a little contemporary. Although this looks like a very modern / traditional cellar, it's very modern in the traditional sense. We didn't have to add any type of metal into the space, and it still looks and feels the part of that gorgeous cellar that we see today. It's absolutely gorgeous and it's a piece of art. But to me, is that I need to ask them if they want it to be more modern or contemporary or traditional combination door. Do they want frameless, framed? Do they want a split system self-contained unit? And the overall budget, what do they intend to spend? And with this day and age, people think that these cellars sometimes go for 20 grand. Our minimum is about $45,000 just to start a cellar. That's where it starts. There's a lot that goes into it, and people need to imagine that it is a bathroom that you're creating and then putting racks and cooling and lighting and everything else into it. So it's a big overhaul that takes a good 3 to 4 months to complete.